Hello, welcome to the Mozilla FireFox Forensic Artifact Analysis. In this project, there will be four main areas of interest when analyzing a Windows 7 system for forensic artifacts left by the installation and usage of the Mozilla FireFox browser. We'll be looking at changes to the registry, data cache locations, SQLite database stores, and remnants left in memory and memory images. The forensic analysis will be conducted on virtual machines running in VMware Workstation Pro 12.5.9. A Windows 7 Service Pack 132-bit virtual machine will be used to show the impact of the Mozilla FireFox browser version 66 on a Windows 7 system. The forensic tools that will be used will be Access Data's FTK Imager and Registry Viewer, Process Monitor, RedShot, Xway's WinHex, Nasafer's MZ Cache View for the Firefox cache, and DB Browser SQLite Portable to look at our SQLite database stores. We're first going to look at the installation. We're going to set up our tools, install Firefox, review the registry after install, and review system files and folders as well. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so here we are in our Windows 7 32-bit virtual machine running in VM Workstation. To start our analysis, we are going to initiate a couple of tools. Our first tool is RedShot. RedShot will take a snapshot of our registry before we install Firefox. We're also going to save this as an image to refer back to throughout the project. I'm going to name this before Firefox, and then that takes just a moment or two to take an image. The next program we're going to be using is called Process Monitor. The Process Monitor program will also show us the registry changes that were made, as well as all the files, folders, and directories that are addressed at a process level of the operating system. To start this tool, we're going to clear our analysis. I have to give that a moment or two, or else it does this. Alright, we're going to go into backing files in order to save this capture. Put that in a reports file we have in this tools directory. And we're going to start our capture and now install Firefox. We're using version 66. We're just going to go with the typical install. Standard install, default web browser. Firefox is a pretty small program, doesn't take too long to install here. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck that. We don't want to launch the application just yet in order to cut down on the information that we're capturing and imaging. So that has stopped capturing. We're going to go back to our red shot. Change our compare directory. To the report section of our tool. And then take and save another registry image. Again, that takes just a couple of moments to finish, and then we can compare the results. As you can see here, we get a ton of artifact information. 215 registry keys have been added. Some deleted. Just a long list of different values that were added, values deleted. Just a lot of good artifacts to review. Before we open WinHex, in order to carve our registries, I do want to show you all another file in the programs directory of Firefox. In here we have the install.log file. This file is also very useful. It's also installed on the system, where if we didn't have Red Shot, we would still have some good information here on when Firefox was installed. You have the timestamp up here at the top. You have an overview of the files, folders that were installed, and an overview of our registry. As you can see here, we have about 24 registry entries, where in the Red Shot we had a lot more recorded. As we go down, we can find that most of these are not for Firefox. The registry entries for Firefox, though, and HKey local machine do match the ones that we have in the install log file. But what we don't have are the HKey current user changes that were made during the Firefox install. We can get into those as we scroll down here. So a good chunk of information and artifacts missing from this install log file that we can still look at in the HKey current user hive. Okay, so we're going to open WinHex, carve our hives, and then use Registry Viewer to take a look at some of these entries here in order to get some good timestamp information. Okay, so here we are in WinHex. We've opened up the drive, and as you can see here, we have our system and software hives available for export. I have already opened up these 3 system hives and have exported them to be viewed in our Registry Viewer program. Starting with the software hive, I have consolidated the main locations where registry items have been added to the registry, not only from the install.log file, which only includes our software hive, but from the images acquired by RedShot. So the software hive is a good place to see our verified timestamp installation info. As you can see here, we have install info in our start menu, internet /Firefox directory. So let's take a look at that. So we're in Clients, Start menu, Firefox, Install Info. So down here we get a UTC timestamp 115. If we go back to our install log file, we have 2115. So that lines up. That's a good registry artifact for installation date of the program. Another good one is in the uninstall locations for Firefox, as those aren't going to be used until the program is uninstalled, and those are located very easily in the main section here. Okay, so moving on to System Hive. Open that up here. There's a couple of entries located in Control Set 1, Services, and there's a couple Mozilla entries as we go down. We have Mozilla Maintenance. Same timestamp, 115:20 UTC. So that could be another good place for installation. Up next we have our HQ local machine, or ntuser.dat. And here we have a couple of entries, most notably down here we have the user assist, where we can check for count. That's located buried in the user assist folder. Take a look at that one here, software. This one's definitely buried. All the way down here at the bottom we find ROT 13 Firefox. So that's in user assist. All these locations here, including the task band, which takes care of the icon down here, we will be reviewing after uninstall in order to see if we can find evidence that Firefox was installed on this system. That concludes the initial registry analysis. Here are the registry keys and locations again in better detail, starting with our software Hive and HQ local machine. We went over some timestamp information and the install.info, install info, and uninstall key entries here. These were all in UTC. All those timestamps that we were looking at in the registry viewer were in UTC, not Eastern Standard Time or whatever time zone you are currently in. Our system Hive and the HQ local machine had a couple entries, Mozilla Maintenance, and another folder there. Our ntuser.dat, our HQ current user, we had a couple of entries as well. And then our main prize here, we have a user assist key entry buried and then encrypted in ROT 13 cipher. You can call that encryption. It's just a 13 character rotation. So you see here the P semicolon, well, it's actually C semicolon, and once converted, you'll see that's Mozilla FireFox 66.0. And then our task band for the taskbar icon link file that we'll be keeping an eye on as we continue to go through the analysis. Okay, before we move on to the usage, we're going to jump back into the virtual machine here to review our created files and data cache locations using our process monitor and regshot and the log file that were created during our installation. Here in process monitor, I've created some filters already, so we're going to filter out from these 300,000 events our Firefox maintenance services. These two paths here for temporary data in the DLL files, I'm not too concerned looking at the moment, and create file. If we apply that, pairs that down to 185 results, and we can go through here and see what files were created on the system during that installation. Back into the filter, we can look at the registry files that were created. We select the Firefox setup. There's nothing in there. That application didn't actually do the installs, the setup exe. So we can see in here there's 500 created registry keys, so a good amount more in both areas when comparing with the log file in the Firefox directory or our regshot. We had 215 keys added here. Installing main files, we have probably 100 or so. So there's a lot more detailed information in process monitor if we need that in the future to pick things apart. What was not created yet, if we look through here, are the cache locations in our app data. And local disk users, df2 is our user here, app data. We don't have a Mozilla folder here or Mozilla directory here. These cache locations have not been created yet, as we have not run Firefox yet. So we'll see those come into action here after we take a pause. I'm going to start up the process monitor and take another red shot so that we can compare those results after we do some usage in the Firefox browser. We're now going to analyze some usage of Firefox. In our first round of searching, we're going to search for drone, click a search result, and then navigate to the website. We'll then bounce into Google, search for Rhode Island Red, but not click on any search results. We'll browse to CNN, click a link, create a bookmark, and then browse to Reddit, but not click on anything. We're then going to delete a bookmark, and finally open a private viewing tab, do a search for moonshine, click a link, bookmark it, and then delete it. And this all while taking a red shot and process monitor scan. The first data store that we'll be analyzing is the Firefox browser cache. The Firefox cache directory is not created on install, but upon the first usage of the application. Adds this Mozilla FireFox profiles default cache location here, which contains a couple of directories. Cache 2 and jump list cache are two folders in the cache directory for Mozilla FireFox. And we can also view the cache by using Firefox and then typing about ;cache in the URL bar. Our next data store that we will be looking at are some of the SQLite databases that, like the cache, are not created on install. They're only created as needed and are located in the following path: app data, roaming, Mozilla, FireFox, and you go from there. So here are some of the common SQLite databases, but not all of which will be on every install. We'll be looking at the cookies and places SQLite data store. The places SQLite data store is by far the most rich in artifact information. Search and web history are available in Moz places. Timestamps, visit types, and counts using the Moz places for the ID are found in Moz history visits, and then our bookmark information as well. The saved logon information with timestamps, I just want to note here, is not in places.sql, but actually in signons.sqlite. So that is in a different SQLite database, the saved login information with timestamps. The visit type and count fields here, we have 6 different usage types or visit types, and we'll use this information when looking at the history visits section in order to see what type of visit happened at a particular point in time. Okay, let's go into our virtual machine, and we can take a look at one of the red shot compare tools here. We can see this was from round 1. We don't have many keys added, some values added and modified, but a lot of which are pretty much operating system based and not specific to any of our Firefox directories or registry areas where we had looked before. In process monitor, we can see that we captured a good 700,000 events during our capture, and we can filter out a lot like we did before. Here's just showing the Firefox exe related events that happened, and as we showed before in the lecture, you can create other filters to drill down and get what you're looking for. I'm going to take a look at our app data folders now. In local, we now have a Mozilla FireFox line item here in order to get to the cache. In the cache, we have a bunch of entries that we really can't take a look at very easily, even in WinHex. So we have a cache viewer program to take a look at that. But before we do, just want to show the jump list cache, which has some icons in here of the websites that we went to. We have our Reddit, CNN, Google, AOL, and so on. Okay, we're going to look at the cache here. So here we have 1,400 items that were cached during our usage. In here we can filter. I'm going to filter for our first search term, which was drone. See here we search for drone. And then we browse to the website here. We have last fetch, last modified timestamps, showing when that website was accessed. Here's the actual search item here. See here, that was fetched on that date and time. We can just put in the website. We know what the website was that they had gone to, and we can see everything related to a particular website. type search. This search question mark lowercase q equals is what is before most searched terms when you take a look. Here we have our Rhode Island red search. See if moonshine shows up. Again, that was a private tab searched item. And you see here we have no trace of moonshine in the cache. So we're next going to look at our SQLite database stores. Again, those are located in app data, roaming, and then we have our paths now that we can go in and find our SQLite databases. Here we have our cookies, and then our places.sqlite. This view here, we're looking at the cookies SQLite database, and in here we can parse that and see the cookies and the websites that created them, as well as some timestamp, creation time, last access information. This is all stored in epoch time. It's also referred to as Unix time. A couple of online websites that will allow us to see that timestamp information. We're going to take one of the timestamps from the CNET here. We can load that into our online tool at epochconverter.com. And then that just converts it to our time zone here. So that was last night at 11:39. Okay, we're going to open our Moz places.sqlite database here. And we're going to first take a look at Moz places. We'll be able to find the ID of the website that we're looking at. So we'll take this one here, ID 10. We can see the last visit date and time. And we can view our account. Frequency. Here's our visit count. So we went to Google once. Also went to CNN once. Let's take a look at CNN. So that's 16. And bookmarks here. We had taken a bookmark at CNN. We can see that located here. That gives us date added, last modified for the bookmarks. And then our history visits. We can see here that our visit type was 5, going back to our lecture that was a permanent redirect. So good way to track activity, browsing activity of someone going from website to website. Alright, so that concludes looking at our SQLite databases. We're going to go into WinHex, take a look at a couple other locations of interest. There are no jump lists to take a look at, but we can take a look at prefetch information and compare that to some user assist entries in the registry. And here we've already drilled down to the C drive Windows prefetch, and we have our FireFox.exe located right here. Timestamp lines up, and we can see that the count on that one is 15. So that's for the FireFox.exe file itself. If we take a look at the registry viewer, we can see in ROT 13 executed times is 1, but this is for the setup 66exe. So this isn't FireFox.exe. This is for the starting application that ran it. So it only ran that once. We go into the other count sections here. We have our Firefox link files. So this one here, located on the taskbar, was executed 4 times. And then this is from our other link location. Yep, probably on our start menu. Yeah, this is for the link, so this is only 4 times. So when I had clicked on Firefox, did that 4 times, and then our count here is going to be for the tabs that were open. So each time you open a tab, it runs the program again. So here we have the user assist and prefetch comparisons. It'll be interesting to see if any of these artifacts are still available after Firefox has been uninstalled. After reviewing the red shot and process monitor captures, there are some additional Firefox artifact locations to note. First one is our one additional registry key in the Microsoft, in the software hive Microsoft Radar. There's a little key there that may come in handy to look up. On disk, we have our prefetch locations and some items in program data, our program files / Mozilla maintenance service, as well as the program files Mozilla directory. And in app data, we have a local low Mozilla folder, which there's nothing in there, just empty directories waiting to be used. Going back to our virtual machine, we're going to take a look at the Firefox cache, as you can view it in Firefox itself just by typing in about cache. You can take a look at the cached entries here and review that right in Firefox itself. While reviewing our places .SQLite database, we did end up finding a hit for Moonshine. So not the searched term, but the website that was opened after searching for Moonshine. So the SQLite database places.sqlite also has some information on the private mode browser in Firefox. So that's good to know. We're going to go back into Firefox, and we're going to clear our history, cookies and cache. So I'm going to clear this. And we're going to clear the history. And we're going to wipe that clean. We're going to go back into our tools here, but first we're going to jump into WinHex. And we're going to take another snapshot. While that's running, we can go back into our cache viewer here and refresh, and we can see that most of that content is now gone. As well, we go into our SQLite databases. We can check our cookies directory first. And we can see that that now has been cleared. Take a look at our places SQLite database. And that one has been cleared as well. All right, going back to Firefox. We're going to take a look at the cache. And here we have a couple caches. Here's our cache 2. And if we look here, we already have where we can see a lot of orphaned and deleted entries. We're going to take a look at these caches again. So I'm going to export this. Okay, those have been exported. And we're going to take a look at the other cache too. Do that by opening. We're going to look at that new cache right now. And we can see that that's empty. Now we're going to open up our recovered cache 2 that we exported from WinHex. And we have a significant amount of our data left. Go through some of our search terms here. Here's our drone hit. And the Rhode Island red hit. So these files are recoverable. Eventually, though, as time goes by, these entries will not be as visible, since we did that immediately after clearing the cache. Most of that data has not been overwritten yet, and we can view that as it was originally. We're going to end off our lecture with an analysis of the uninstall of Mozilla FireFox. As you can see here, not much is deleted. The only registry key that we lose is one in our software hive that handles the taskbar shortcut icon. In our C drive, we lose our programs files directory for Mozilla FireFox and the Mozilla Maintenance Service directory and program files. The only file that we lose is the install.log file, but that can be easily carved out of WinHex, as we can see here. I've already done a search for the file header, Mozilla FireFox installation started. Take that hex and do a search, and we found that in free space. I just looked at the text in order to find the end, and that's been carved out into a file here that we can review and see where these files were installed when this was on the system, as well as all the registry keys that we had run over before. Even the cache and everything is available still. Though we had cleared the cache, I did export the cache again. The cache 2 folder after uninstall. You see here we don't have as much as we did before after the uninstall and reboot, but it does still show that this information could be available during an investigation if it was just recently, if the cache was just recently cleared. That ends our analysis of FireFox on Windows 7. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.